In the spirit of reconciliation, I acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island peoples today. Welcome to Totally Lit, the podcast celebrating reading, writing and creating literature. I'm your host, Ky Garvey. Thank you for listening. Lorena and Sophie, welcome to Totally Lit. I'm so excited to have this amazing dream team here with me to chat about The Giant. I'd love to hear about how The Giant has come into being.
Yes,
yes. After you,
sorry.
Sophie. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much, Ky. It's lovely to meet you and lovely to be able to talk like this, all of us together. So I was just walking up the road one day, I often go for a walk, before I start writing or sometimes after lunch or something like that, just up the road. And then suddenly I had this thing in my head that, the giant woke up. And then as I went back home, I could see more of him, what he was doing.
He's following you home.
Yes, that's right, I did. And I got home and I just wrote the story down straight away. And some of it changed, like I had, a bit of crossings out very soon, because I always write a picture book text. I always write it in longhand first.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing, because normally I'm just wedded to the computer and I do everything on the computer. But picture book texts are somehow different. And then I looked at it and then left it aside for a little while and looked at it again and thought, I think I want to show this to Lorena. She was the very first person I thought of showing to. I want to show this to her because we'd worked on Saturn, of course, and had such a wonderful experience with that. And then we'd worked previously on the French fairy tales and magical tales of French Camelot, and we'd really loved working together. And I could just feel that this was Sophie and Lorena book. You know what I mean? It was
exciting.
Straight away. And so Lorena, I'll let you continue the story.
Well, as often happens as an illustrator, the first experience I have with the idea of a book is getting that email from the writer or from the publisher. But I think, The Giant really began years ago, really, because we've been working together and so collaboratively for quite a few years, since 2019, I think.
Yeah, 2019.
2019, yes, because I went over to Europe then to take photographs for French fairy tales. So it's really, So it was really
right there.
I know, me too. I think it's it's that collaborative process that we've had, and we talk to each other many times a week, and I think just understanding the way that each other work really helped to form what The Giant became. So when Sophie sent me the email with the manuscript, I opened it up straight away and I read it straight away, emailed straight back, say yes, this is amazing, let's do it. I feel like it's such a lovely companion to our previous picture book, Saturn, as well. They're both about loneliness and finding community and finding your people. But I immediately knew that The Giant was full of so much more colour and it needed to be a bigger book in scope in terms of the illustrations. I feel like Saturn was very kind of intimate, very close, but The Giant just wanted to branch out and be friends with everybody. So it made me sort of stretch my illustration techniques a little bit as well, which we could probably talk a little bit about later. But it was from the get-go. I knew that it was our book.
Yes.
And I had to have it.
And in terms of you guys have an existing relationship with Midnight Sun, Sophie, was that something you knew? Like you didn't just send that through the slush pile to anyone?
No, we just sent it directly to Anna, the publisher, Anna Solding, because she'd loved Saturn and she'd done a beautiful job. And we thought, this is a book for Anna. So, and she was onto it straight away. It was like with Saturn as well. It was like, wow, this is wonderful. So that's been a really lovely relationship as well. It's because Midnight Sun do a lot of, how would you call it, the more different picture books. They have a lot of scope, I suppose.
And it takes Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say she takes really interesting risks with books, I think, and they seem to pay off a lot. So it's wonderful to have a publisher who's willing to take a chance on a book that will hopefully be marvelous.
I think, well, like for emerging picture book authors, we're still submitting and hoping, where you guys have kind of transcended to a point where you can put together a project and feel confident that you've got that relationship to bring it to life. And that's like a really exciting place to be. Like, so well done, ladies, on getting to that
Thank you.
point.
It's still no guarantee.
No, it isn't. No.
We all still have books that get,
Yeah.
There's always no's, I think, at no matter where you are at your career.
Yeah,
but I do have a dream of, I would love to be at that point where some of my creations can come to life in that way, like in a magical way.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a lovely experience for you both as well.
Yeah. Look, both of them have been wonderful. And the thing is, I think that, the more you get to know people in this industry and you can approach them more personally, I suppose. I have an agent as well. But with this particular books, like she dealt with all the contract and stuff, but she just said, look, go ahead, you speak to Anna because you know her. And you just get to a stage where you get to know people, but also it's not just about having a contact, it's about also knowing the kinds of things that they publish, so that you're actually not going to somebody who might love the book but can't take it on because it's not something that the numbers will stack up for them or whatever. So I think that's the thing, once you get a bit of a name and people start to see your books out there, then it's not easier because, like Lorena says, I still get rejected. I've had so many books out, but I still get sometimes publishers saying, no, no, not interested in that. I don't take it personally, obviously, because it is what it is. But yeah, I think that, at first I didn't know anyone in the industry. I knew absolutely nobody. I had no contacts whatsoever. I was going totally blind into it. And I did go through all parts of having a lot of rejections and everything else. And
it takes
later,
time.
It takes time. It takes time.
That rapport with people and to build a body of work. And Sophie, you've got a really solid catalogue behind you now, which is a lot of hard work that you've put into it. So I'm certainly not saying, it's easy. But I guess what I'd like my listeners to hear is that you guys still get rejections.
We certainly do.
Absolutely. When you're in the trenches going, should I just get back up again? And the answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I think there's this idea that there'll be a point where you've somehow magically, as you said, ascended to some higher plane and you've made it. But, I don't know, the goalposts are always kind of shifting and you're always just kind of, scrabbling for the next project and hoping your ideas are seen by other people and are seen by the right people too. So, yes, take heart in the fact that we're all still lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Definitely. And sometimes things
we're going to be doing next year.
And sometimes things that you really love, just don't get picked up at all. And other things that you thought, it's nice, but it's kind of light or whatever. Say, this is great, So, yeah, like Lorena says, I mean, every book is like the first book in a sense. So once you've got past the thing of the first publication and you think, well, everything's going to be fine from now on. That's not true. Being a creator is not a normal job, I always think of it as it's a pre-modern job, it's like it doesn't have promotions, it doesn't have scales of pay, it doesn't have anything like that. And so you're constantly having to prove yourself like you're a knight at the court or something like that. And you're constantly having, you know what I mean? It's like you've always got to be aware of your surroundings like you would if you were a knight at the court. You have to be aware of what's going on in the industry. You have to be aware of the books that are out there, what people are doing now. I mean, generally speaking, people have always been the same in terms of story. They love to hear or to read a good story. That's for sure. beyond that, there's a whole lot of other things that might change, But the core of it is telling a story that resonates, that stays with people.
How strategic are you in your writing? In this case, the giant struck you on a walk, and that story did not come about with you selling it in mind, I guess. But do you ever think about, okay, what is being published at the moment? Do I need to be writing some stories that fit what's on trend at the moment, or are you holding to your art and just writing what you love?
I write what I love. I don't really think about who's going to buy it, who's going to sell it, or anything like that. I don't even think of the market or anything. I just think I'm really having a good time with this story, and I want to do this. I just really, really do think like that. When I'm writing a novel, for instance, I write a chapter one day, the next day I go through it, and then I write the next chapter, and so on and so forth. So the end result is a draft that's fairly clean, but that's gone through a lot of things. And it's at that point when it's all finished and I can read it, that then I know what the book is. I don't know before that what it is, really. I'm just totally within the story. And with a picture book text, it's the same, because they do come out of nowhere. Not all of them have, like the Saturn came out of nowhere. Giant came out of nowhere. The Snowman's Wish came out of nowhere. Well, they're not out of nowhere, but out of dreams, out of things I had not planned. And then others because of things that happened, like House of Mud was based on building a mud brick house, which we really did, and things like that. And I've got one called The Fishmonger and the Pastry Chef, which illustrated by Cheryl Orsini, coming out in November. And that's based on a slice of family history and the place in France where my mother's family comes from, which I love. So, they're all different, but they all start because I actually want to do it. Yeah. So occasionally I've been commissioned to write a book.
But usually that happens.
Yes, it's really nice.
So exciting. That's amazing.
It is. It's lovely. Usually so for instance, with The Hunt for Ned Kelly, which was a book of mine which is still being read a lot, that came out because the person at Scholastic who was running the My Story series that Scholastic had approached me and said, would you like to write a book in the series? But didn't say to me, you must write about so-and-so.
I said you could choose Ned Kelly.
I could choose. I said, Ned Kelly straight away.
Yes.
Because I had often wondered, why on earth is there no children's book about him? So that was that, so that kind of commissioning. So that was just because I was known as somebody who'd written historical fiction before. But with picture books and like with The Giant, they come out like the novels because I want to write them, because they come, because they're there. But afterwards, like I said, we both thought, Midnight Sun, when we were thinking of the publisher. And because we were thinking, Saturn is, very much within that atmosphere, even though, as Lorena said, it's different view of it.
So there is an element of strategy in thinking about presenting your book to the right publisher.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask around the experience of an illustrator, because you're coming in after the story is written. What's that like, in that you are creating, but does it feel like you're not initiating the concept? How does that feel as an illustrator?
I don't think so, because I think, especially with picture books, I really see, again, that collaborative process. The writer has told their story, and once they've handed over to you, it's your story as an illustrator, and you have to then tell your own visual story alongside that text. So you're using that text as a framework, but then building up a whole other visual narrative alongside of it, but also kind of woven through it. And in some ways, it's a little bit easier because a little bit of the job's done for you. You don't have to think up the main story, but there are so many little elements that you have to think about when you're interpreting that text. And every single illustrator would do something completely different with a story. Years ago, I was in a writing group, and we used to come up with a random prompt. So we'd have a character and a setting and an object and something that would happen. And it's incredible how completely different those stories were, even though each of our stories, we felt like, well, it's obvious that it has to be about this and this would happen. Completely different. And it's the same way with illustrations too. And the way that I work is quite a lot different to a lot of illustrators too, because I'm not drawing characters. So the technique that I use, I photograph most of the elements and then I build them up in layers in Photoshop. So, for example, the giant is made up of bits of leaves and twigs and moss and sticks and all sorts of things I've collected. So it's very much a different process. I have to sort of think a little bit laterally, I suppose, about how I'm illustrating. And to go back to what you're asking Sophie earlier about whether or not you are just, dreaming up your own projects or if you're thinking strategically. When I first started illustrating, I was very much in the world of fairy tales. And because I started out as a visual artist having exhibitions and working with fairy tales and working with the silhouette, which worked quite well with the process that I use and I still use now. But I remember I had a meeting with an agent in London. It was very nice. But she looked at my portfolio and said, well, you're a bit kind of one note. You're just doing the one thing. It makes you hard to sell. So that meant that I had to think strategically about the approaches I was taking to illustration. And, I think sometimes maybe I feel like I've gone too far the other way. Because I'm a bit like a magpie now. I keep collecting all these different projects. So, but I still keep coming back to that, the silhouette and working with the world around me and sort of building up a narrative world from reality. I suppose I've gone way off on a tangent there, but
it's all interesting content. That's fine.
But yes, but to say there's a lot of, I think you're always thinking a little bit strategically, and you have to be completely kind of mad and creative as well. So it's always about kind of finding that balance. But it's always that text that keeps you tethered, I think, as an illustrator, because you're working with somebody else and you want to do their story justice. So I think, the last thing you want to do is send off some illustrations and have someone be disappointed in you.
Oh, dear.
Be mad at me. Yeah, but I love it. And I love the way that we work as well, Sophie, where, we're extremely collaborative. We'll talk back and forth. There's a history. It's, it's changing a little bit now, I think, but often in the past, a writer would submit a story to a publisher and the publisher would find the illustrator and make sure that writer and illustrator did not talk to each other.
That was my experience. That I kind of just had to wait to see. And I was
I make a point of making friends with all my writers.
Yeah.
But with quite a few of the books and projects I've worked on, the writer and I have had a relationship beforehand, and I will often pitch projects to publishers as a team, which is happening more and more now. Yeah. We've built up this fantastic way of communicating with each other creatively, and I think that builds stronger books because we understand each other, we understand the way each other works, and we can be open and talk to each other about what we're doing. Great, I love it.
I will just drop in here that Kate Forsyth is on my wish list to interview on the pod. So, Kate, if you're listening. Now, with your process together, it sounds like it's a beautiful relationship. What's the back and forth like in terms of Sophie has sent you through the manuscript? Do you do a full illustration and send through the whole book back, or did you go step by step through the process?
With the giant, so Sophie sent me the story just as I was heading over to Adelaide on the May Gibbs Creative Fellowship, which was fantastic. That's if anyone's thought of applying or hasn't heard of it before, go track them down.
I'm waiting. I don't know what
crossing all my fingers for you. It's wonderful. You have a month and you're left alone to do your own thing. They'll bring you soup. They'll drive you places if you need it. It's the best. So you get the chance to just be on your own, working on the projects that you want to work on with no expectations. So Sophie sent me the story, I think, a couple of days before I left. And so I got the chance to sit there and just really spend time with it and be surrounded
on the May
by...
Gibbs.
On the May Gibbs.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
that's where the giant was born. I was there with my computer set up and surrounded by the books of other people who had been there before. So I think I sketched out a storyboard, and when I sketch out storyboards, it's literally stick figures, and it's a mess, but made up a couple of concept illustrations as well. So I created the giant. It was that first giant that I made there that made it into the book. So because he's all made with photography and I work digitally, I made him a little bit like a paper puppet. So I essentially hinged his elbows and his knees and his his ankles, and so I could move him around and give him life and character. So I created the giant himself and the first couple of illustrations and sent those to Sophie, and along with the storyboard as well. And that's what we ended up sending to Anna. I think we'd had a yes before I got home from the...
Yes, it was very quick, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Sophie, was it what you were envisaging, like when you were writing that story? Was Lorena able to tap into what you were imagining?
You know, when I write a picture book text, I have this sense of atmosphere. It's like almost like a kind of dream thing, like a landscape and stuff. But I don't see closely what people look like, what the characters look like, what that. So I'm really very, very open to what my co-creator, the illustrator, comes up with, and I'm always really happily surprised and often extremely overwhelmed that they have actually conjured this extraordinary visual world out of my little words, you know. And I've had quite a few picture books out now, and I've never, ever been disappointed. Never. And in fact, mostly very surprised quite often, but surprised in a really good way, you know, saying, oh my God, of course, you know, and of course it's him, you know, of course it's a giant, of course. And like, it's like so incredible because it's like this person, the illustrator who is your co-creator, who's equal with you, has conjured something out of their imagination, out of their hands, out of their skills, something that you could never, well, that you just can't believe your eyes when you see it. You know, I mean, it's just wonderful. And I'm always in awe about how, you know, how Lorena can conjure these worlds, you know, and especially like that magical edge that you have in all your work, Lorena, you know, it's incredible.
You know, I often describe an illustrated book, especially picture books, as kind of this, it's the closest we'll ever come to like a magical world on its own. It's the closest I'll ever get to going to Narnia.
Yes.
Because it's, you know, it's this little contained world that wouldn't exist without both of you working together. So, you know, as a writer, you wouldn't be making these illustrations, and as an illustrator, I wouldn't have that story. And it's the magic of that collaborative process that, you know, builds up these incredible magical worlds. And that's, you know, that's what I love so much about this job, is that, you know, I get to spend every day working with amazing people and working with their incredible words and building up these new worlds that hopefully are magical to the readers as well.
You keep answering my questions before I ask them.
Oh, sorry.
But that's fantastic. My next question is, when you're creating, and this is for both of you, are you thinking about the reading experience of the child when you're creating?
Absolutely. I think, you know, that's why we're doing it. But I do have to admit, occasionally I think I'm just working for what makes me excited or what would make younger me excited. And then it's so much more thrilling when you remember or you see other children, I'm still a child, but
child within.
You see other people and children who love this thing that you've made, and you go, oh God, that's right. That's, you know, that's why we do it. It's,
yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. Absolutely. Like, you write for your inner child, as it were. And because you haven't lost, I think most people who write and illustrate for children haven't lost touch with their childhood self. And so it's quite easy, in a sense, natural, let's say, to come into that space. But also, you know, because you can tell from the way, and I always sound out the text to myself. I say it aloud, actually, because, it's very much an oral experience as well. A picture book is visual, written, and oral at the same time, because they're often read aloud. And actually, I was reading The Giant to some preschoolers the other day in the local library. They loved the book and they were very keen on the pictures, and they loved the goat jumping over the moon and stuff like this. And, because the thing is that a picture book like that, and like many others, can speak across a range of ages. So the little ones, they think, wow, a giant, and he's walking down the hill and he's getting his friends. Oh, poor thing, and then the older kids have more involved in it, and then adults see different things. And so it is a form of uniting people in this experience of an illustrated story, which, can cross so many barriers.
I'll just raise with our listeners that we're recording during book week, so this will come out a little bit later. But I find with writing, I have one picture book, so I'm not as advanced as you guys are. But there's joy in creating, so the writing and the illustrating is amazing. Like, it's a wonderful experience to do that. But then the experience on the other side, when you're seeing the joy that you've created, and the kids love it, and it's actually something. The more I'm getting out to schools and libraries and events, you're reliving that joy over and over again as well. Like, it's such a fantastic experience. And I guess that's more of a statement than a question, really.
No, it's absolutely true.
But connecting with the kids and realizing that you are being a part of their childhood and bringing them some joy, like, that's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Yeah, you have to say I've got severe FOMO this week because I'm on intense deadlines, so I've sort of kept my head down in terms of book week, and I've been like kind of hiding in the background. And I'm not here. Don't ask me to do anything because I've got a couple of big projects due. But I see all these friends doing multiple schools a day, and they're posting reels and. Having such a having such a good time, when when the screens work, and when you haven't caught a cold from somebody, and I think a lot of us are introverts, so
it's a challenge.
It can be hard to sort of steel yourself to go in and do that. But every single time I've gone into a school or to a library and done workshops and talks, I'm less terrified doing it nowadays. But you still feel quite anxious about going in, about whether everything will work, or whether the kids will like you, or whether someone will throw up on you. Every single time you walk away on such a high.
And I think, in fact, having the sense of panic you have before, and which I do too. I've done 20 million of these things, but it doesn't get any. And I think having the stage fright is absolutely necessary. It makes you actually focus much more when you're actually there on stage and you can't run away anymore, and you're actually there and you have to. So you just think, I am not going to humiliate myself. I'm going to, and it's incredible because you start to get the reaction from the audience. And with kids, especially primary school kids, it's so immediate. And they're so obviously their little faces are showing all sorts of emotions and joy and laughter and all sorts of stuff. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do, to meet readers. And I do the same because I write for adults too. And, adults are just the same. They try to be more circumspect at first, but soon people get involved and forget about it, So, I do think the stage fright is kind of necessary, as long as it's not crippling, you know what I mean? So,
I've found learning from other kidlit creatives has been really helpful to me. Like, as I at first I was like, I've got a book, I don't know what to do with it. I'm going to have to take it out in front of people. And I had volunteered for BSAB, which is a festival here in Brisbane, and I had supported as a volunteer Nova Wheatman, and so I had watched her how she delivered to the kids on the day. And then the lovely Yvonne Mez had taken me to some school visits with her last year, I think it was, so I could observe and watch. And then I'm like, okay, I'm getting the idea of what other authors are doing. I'm a bit low energy. I'm like, I'm not a performer, so I'm like,
No,
not going to be singing
I'm
and
the same.
dancing.
It's like, don't make me tap dance. Just, you know, the adrenaline gets you through.
Yeah, it does. And look, I mean, I think telling stories, like kids love hearing about stories. I often tell them stories of when I was a kid and things that I did and funny stuff. And, I have some pretty good stories because we did a lot of different things. And I went on this big sea voyage with my parents when I was 7 years old. And I still remember everything about it. So they just love that. So you don't need to be a performer as such. I mean, yeah, there are some people who are, and they're amazing, and then you feel, oh my God, I've got to go on after this person. But, generally speaking, if you're just yourself and also to judge the room, as it were,
Yes.
you get a real sense of that. High schools can be a bit confronting. Because they will sit there like, the younger ones, yes, and the older ones as well, but the ones in the middle, they sort of give you the staring competition, and
they're hard to crack, those year
they're
9s and 10s,
hard to crack. But I pretend I don't notice. I pretend I'm this silly lady who's come in and who's just babbling away, and who cares, type of thing.
Yeah.
And actually, that does get through to them by the end, and then some of them will come up. They generally do not ask questions during the session because they're much too cool, and too intimidated about their peers, I'd say. But then often I have a line of kids coming to see me afterwards to ask me the questions they were busting to ask but didn't feel they could,
So are you guys doing any launches together for The Giant?
Well, I don't know when this is coming out, but we're doing a launch in Sydney at Better Read Than Dead on the 4th of September.
Thursday, the 4th of September. Yeah.
We've got the amazing Ursula I can never pronounce her name right. Sophie, help me. Dubasarski, thank you.
That's right.
Helping us launch, which I'm so excited about. And I'm doing a couple of book signings at Squishy Mini in Kyneton in Victoria on the first Saturday of the school holidays, or whatever date that is. And I'm also doing a signing up at Bookish in Bendigo next week, but this may have all happened in the past. So
we can time travel.
We'll see how it goes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and we're doing like Lorena and I are going to go, when we're in, because we both don't live in Sydney, so we're meeting in Sydney, and we're going to go and visit a few bookshops. We've set up times and stuff to go and talk to the booksellers and tell them about the book, and they all actually stock the book, which is great.
It's great.
But we thought we'd go in and just talk to them and sign the books and so on, and they've all seemed very keen, so that's a very good sign.
That's right. So if you're in Sydney, you can at least get a signed.
Yes.
A signed book.
So relationships with our booksellers are so important.
Oh my goodness.
As well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
They are, they are the angels of the book industry.
They sure are.
We bow down to them. We love
Yes,
we love them. Them and school librarians.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. The school librarians are amazing.
Yes.
I've got a few questions for you, just for people to get to know you a little bit better, and also to give some advice to aspiring creatives as well. So can you both give me a tip you would share with an aspiring creative if they were looking to start growing their career in the industry?
I always tell people that the bad news is that you'll have to talk to people.
Oh, no.
As we hinted at before, we're often introverts. We're not the ones, on the dance floor at the party necessarily. But
although sometimes those book conferences.
I think that's right. But and not network in that kind of skeptical kind of way, but you build a community of people around you. I think other creators, it's the most important thing, I think, to have a community of creators around you who understand what you're going through, some who are, slightly further ahead in the industry and can give you advice, and then, you're helping people who are, up and coming as well. And also, trying to build relationships with publishers and with agents, and, not hassling them, not harassing them, but just making sure that they know that you exist. Because if nobody knows you exist, then they're not going to ask you to work on on the next amazing book that they need an illustrator for.
I would also say, believe in what you're doing, and love what you're doing. That's the prime thing. Don't think, I want to make money, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to do this, because this is surefire way that you're not going to, but because, very few people do. But love what you do and keep your integrity, but stay flexible. Also, that's something I think is really important, not to become typecast yourself, not to box yourself into a corner. I can't do this sort of thing. I would never do this sort of thing, whatever. And think about, you were saying before about, looking at the trends. I never write trends, but I do keep my eyes and ears open for what's going on and what's out there and the kind of things that are not specific, but okay, people really love a particular type of atmosphere, whatever. So you stay flexible in that way, but you keep your integrity. You don't run after the latest trend, because the latest trend will have gone a million miles down the road by the time you get your book out. But also don't sort of think, I'm going to write exactly in this way for the rest of my life, because it often changes as you get older, as you develop more, as you get different interests and you branch out into different areas. And, have fun as well.
Yeah.
Have fun. Don't stress too much. Like, I know that's easy to say, but honestly, it's true. Having fun is really important.
Your first book, that only ever happens once. And I think you can get so wrapped up in the process that you're forgetting to enjoy it.
I think too, don't tie too much to those goalposts or the expectations of what certain goalposts will bring. There's this idea that your first book comes out and on the day of release there'll be flowers and fireworks and people will be beating down the door to congratulate you, but usually it's just another day and you're at the desk and you're doing what you do every day. I think it's really important to have fun in the process and enjoy the doing more than trying to chase the fame and the glory.
Interesting that word fame, isn't it?
I would say too, I was thinking before, I think it's really important, and this is something that we're all learning along the way forever, I think, but learn when to say yes to things and learn when to say no as well. I think it's so important to grab interesting opportunities and stuff you mightn't have never thought of that can lead to all sorts of interesting things. So say yes to lots of things, but also say no to a lot of things too, because I think when you work in a creative industry, it's very easy for people to think they can take advantage of you because, you enjoy what you do, so you'll do it, right? We all mess it up. We all say yes to things that we shouldn't have, and occasionally say no to things that we probably shouldn't have too. But yes, I do. I do feel like that's a learning process.
Do you like the surprises that pop up though when you've said something, like you've done something last year, you said, okay, I said yes to that, and then this year opportunities from that other event pop up and it's like, I didn't expect that to happen. So sometimes you'll say yes when you're feeling conflicted about it, but then it leads to a whole other...
If only we had a crystal ball so we knew which things were the right ones, but yes.
Okay, now my other question for you both is, can you tell me one surprising thing about yourself that your readers and other writers may not know about you?
Well,
have you told us everything already?
I mentioned the sea voyage, and a lot of people don't know about that, and that was a really big thing. And that trip, when we went from Sydney to Marseille in France, and my parents thought that we were going to go back to France for good, and that's why they went on the ship, because they wanted to do something different. And one of the last final stop, so there were lots of different stops along the way in the Pacific, the Caribbean and the Atlantic, and the final stop before Marseille was in the island of Madeira. It was pelting down with rain, I remember, and the streets were slick, but it was really quite nice looking town, Funchal, the capital of Madeira. And we went to this little restaurant and we were sitting there sort of eating sardines and stuff. And this man came up to my parents, and I was there with my sisters and one brother, and he said something in Portuguese to my mother, and my mother spoke Portuguese as well, Spanish and lots of other languages. Anyway, and then afterwards, when I asked her, he said that you look like one of them, and we should leave you here. And I was absolutely terrified. But the guy looked like a pirate, like he was a sailor. But I was sure that my parents, when they told me that after he just went, we were still in a restaurant. Oh my God, I was so scared. I wanted to get out of there, and that
well, there's
was
a book that you need to write.
In fact, it has like I wrote recently. I've just finished a middle grade novel, which is the very first scene is a scene that's inspired by that, because it's never left me, but I've never written about it before. You would think, and I was dead sure that they could sell me to this pirate or something, So and then I would stay there. But so it was like this strange thing which stayed in my head the whole time, but until now has never been able to come out. Maybe because I was too traumatized by it.
You missed your opportunity to have a career as a pirate.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I tend to go blank when anyone says, "So tell me something interesting about yourself." I'm like, nothing.
I'm not interested.
I sit here and do my stuff. But I think I sort of hinted at it a little bit before, but I'm an illustrator who doesn't really draw. And I think it's really important. And, I talk about a lot when I'm talking to kids in schools, that there are so many different ways of being creative. And I think kids get to a certain age and they think, oh, well, I can't draw this duck or this bird or this person how I want it to be, so I can't draw, so I'm not creative. And they can often go the rest of their lives believing that they're not a creative person because they lost that spark so early. So I think it's really important to remind kids and adults as well that just because you put pencil to paper and the thing doesn't work out how you want it to, it doesn't mean that you're not a creative person and that you can't create incredible things. I mean, you should see my storyboards. They are stick figures, but they hopefully, through other means, through photography and through montage and through on paper and collage and a teeny tiny bit of drawing here and there. But I've kind of made an illustration career with skills that don't involve actually drawing anything, which does surprise people a lot of the time, because there's, this idea that there's only one way to illustrate, which is to draw or paint the thing that you want. But yes, I think we're all creative, and we just need to find our special spark.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to throw it over to you ladies to ask me a question, which is my exciting new thing I'm trying. Hopefully it doesn't backfire on me.
I would love to hear about your book, Ky. What is it? And
my book is easy peasy. It's came out in 2023 through EK Books, and it's about Ruby, who is learning to roller skate. She gets
nice
a set of skates for her birthday, and she thinks it's going to be easy peasy, of course. And she tries and she falls, and she tries and she falls. And Dad's in the background going, "I can help," and she's like, "Nope, I don't need your help." But she was much more polite, of course. It's inspired by my son, who took his skateboard to bed with him at night. It was so cute. No, he's not impressed that something about him is in the book. And Ruby takes the skates with her to bed the first night because she's in love with them so much. Then the next night they get put away in the cupboard because she's had a few crashes. But then she and Dad go to the roller skating rink and learn together. And that's kind of inspired. My dad used to take me skating on a Saturday morning, and I used to love that. And so that's my first book. So it's fun to read to the kids, and I do have a craft activity where we make our own roller skates, which is a bit beyond my skill. So I'm like, I might have to shelve that one. We'll just do colouring in. But it's been fun, and also to have something to remember my dad. He's still with us, but to celebrate something we did together, and also to have a little bit of my son in it as well. And I'd like to continue doing with that with my books, having a piece of the people I love in them. Although I'm feeling the pressure because Mum hasn't got a book yet.
Oh, no.
There's time.
Keep writing mother and daughter stories.
Yes, that's right. And it's, it's a wonderful way of kind of building a personal history, isn't it? Through that creative side. It's wonderful. Speaking of creative things, I think all of us have thought at some point that we'd love to start up a podcast, and we've got all these amazing ideas about the things that we do. I heard recently that I think it was 73% of podcasts, maybe it's even more, have no more than 3 episodes, and that's it.
It's hard work.
It's like, it's this.
Yeah.
It's,
mine is only going through my sheer determination not to give up.
So, yes, my question was going to be, what are your tips for building a podcast that will last, not just the topics and the ideas that you have, but also your own motivations and time and willpower?
I think you've really got to think about the content, because you're asking people to listen to you for an hour sometimes. And if you're releasing them a week, that's a lot of time you're asking for someone. So giving them something that's worth that time is important. I really started the podcast because I wanted to be creative, and submitting picture books is a long process when you're starting out, and I wanted to be seeing some results from some of the action I was taking, and podcasting is an easy way to do that.
And it's a great way of building that community too.
Yes, definitely.
You're really gathering this amazing circle of people around you who you've spoken to and who listen to you. And
I'm quite surprised that has occurred, but that was kind of the purpose as well, because I'm quite introverted, and my original idea was, I want to publish books but no one know who I am. I can hide behind the podcast where Originally, I was not giving very much of myself, though. I was like, I will interview people, they will talk, and I will just facilitate. And I wasn't sharing anything about myself. But I've learnt, though, that if you want to build community, you have to be sharing of yourself, because why will they give back to you if you're not giving to them? So learning, it took me a little while to figure that out. And I'm like, actually, if I want people to be interested in what I have to say, I have to give them something to be interested in as well. And part of that is me. Although that sounds a little bit, that's not meant to be arrogant in any way.
No. Well,
that's like community is a give and take. So me trying to hold back and saying, I'm never going to tell you anything about myself.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. It has to be a conversation, doesn't it? There's no fun in just, asking questions that you've written down on a piece of paper, and no one's having fun there.
No. And just learning, it's been like a really great experience of growth for me as well, to be like, actually I'm learning things about myself that I never knew by doing the podcast. And each interview I do, like with amazing creatives like yourself, I'm always learning, and that is exciting to me as well, because I'm one of those people that is always curious about the world as well. So that means I'm always learning something new and learning more about the industry. And it's also satisfying my need to create and see a result, whereas some of the publishing industry can take a long time, and it feels like, now I want it now. That's not how it works at all.
Yes. Nice to have that little kind of dopamine hit of having that kind of instantaneous thing that goes out into the world. I mean, every time I make an illustration, I want to show everybody straight away. I'm like, no, so it's not how it works.
Getting a contract or getting some good news, and you have to keep it to yourself, and that is challenging as well. Like, this helps me be creative and feel satisfied, and build community and feel like I have a place within the industry as well.
Well, you absolutely do. I remember when we launched the Grown Up's Guide to Picture Books, you came along and I saw you up the back in the audience. I'm like,
there's always me running in and then running out. I've got to go.
So I think you've built an amazing thinking. I listen every week. I love
thank you.
Love the podcast. So keep going, please.
I always get embarrassed. That's one thing that you don't think about, is that your having conversations, and then you're broadcasting it, and then someone will say, "Oh, I was listening in the car," or they'll send me like a picture of their dash with the logo up on, and I'm like, "Oh, those poor people having to listen to me rabbit on about nonsense." But well, it's not nonsense. I'm passionate about writing, and I just want to share that with everyone, and the opportunity to support my fellow writers as well. Like, it's great to have you guys on and share an amazing book, because
thank you so much.
It deserves to be out in the world. So it's been great for you guys to come on. I was really thrilled, Lorena, when I got your email. Because I get a lot of pictures, and some weeks it feels overwhelming as well to be. And I imagine this is a bit like what it's like for publishers when the email is coming in and submissions are coming in, and I'm like, I can't look this at the email. It's too much. And then
we really appreciate you having us on. It's
we do.
I was so thrilled when you emailed back.
Feelings.
We can't please everybody all of the time.
I think we've had everything very well.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a great interview. So best of luck, and I can't wait to see what else you guys might be collaborating on. No pressure.
We'll see what we can do.
Watch
this space. Yes. Well, thank you so much for having us. It's been such fun.
Thank you very much, Ky. It was lovely.
You're very welcome. Thanks
very much.
Totally Lit is an independent podcast. You can help support us to continue to chat with wonderful Australian creatives by leaving a review on iTunes or sharing our socials with your friends. You can also make a contribution at www.buymeacoffee.com/totallylit. This will also help with equipment and podcasting platform fees. I love to interact with our listeners, so feel free to say hello either by email or social media at totallylitpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, Insta, LinkedIn and Twitter, and now Blue Sky. I've also created a group on Facebook called the Totally Lit Writing Community. It's a space to continue the conversation and share your writing successes, events, launches and latest projects. Jump into the group and say hello. Thank you for listening to Totally Lit, and don't forget to go out into the world to read, write, create, ignite.